just doing usual things badly, 'cause I'm bad at this still. I should take that sticker off. I mean, it looks nicer. Ye oldie book. Very nice. So, I'm a bit of a planner. I'm a lot of a planner. I plan things. And this year, I, as many people do, came up with some goals for the year. The important ones for the purposes of this video are the weaving ones. So last year, I started weaving seriously. I quickly went from no looms to 4 looms. Only 2 of them are in working order, but hey, I'm clearly a weaver if I've got more looms than I can use, right? And I decided that as part of my goals for this year, I wanted to really work on getting decent at it, basically. Like, I've woven a few things, like I did a scarf, I started doing some tablet bands, really enjoy the tablet weaving, so glad I've got an inkle loom for that. But, as luck would have it, in October last year, the local hand weavers guild had a day. I walked into the guild meeting and was informed that everything in the hall was free. If you could get rid of it, it was yours, because the fellow in charge of our equipment room had gotten sick of not being able to move in the space, basically. And the thing was, there was one specific loom, the only counterbalance loom I've come across so far, because they're just not that common here in Australia. A lot of them are jack looms or rising shed looms, and I really wanted a counterbalance loom because I do historical reenactment, and the time period that I do that from, counterbalance looms are the thing. So I've been looking for one seriously for 5-6 months, and then this glorious loom that I didn't know existed was just there for free. So that promptly came home with me. And a little bit of workroom rearranging later, it now takes pride of place. I have a warp on it. It's going strong. But I still don't know what I'm doing, really. And as part of that, I decided this year I'm going to work on my weaving skills. So the first thing I did was say, I'm going to practice 2.5 hours a week. And I know it's only the 11th of January, but so far, I have made that happen. That's about 25 minutes a day, every day. I haven't been doing it every day, so an hour or 40 minutes every second day, usually. But even then, very quickly, I've discovered that has made a big difference. Like, I'm much more comfortable with my loom now in even that tiny amount of time. So, that was a good goal. The other goal is to work through this. Because the Hand Weavers Guild also had a book sale, and honestly, I was very restrained. I came home with The Key to Weaving, and Margaret Porter Davidson's, I can't remember the exact name of it, it's the green book with all of the weaves patterns in it. People swear by it. I have a 4-shaft loom, it was a match made in heaven, and a couple of natural dyeing books, specifically for Australia, so I guess we'll find out what colours I can get out of my gum tree. But yes, the thing about this book, as you can see, it says, a textbook of hand weaving for the beginning weaver. It's designed, you start at the start, page 1, and you go all the way through to page 600 and something. It's 687 pages, I think, including appendices. So, 697 with the index. So, I started reading that over the Christmas break, because I actually took Christmas off. It was amazing. I only did things I wanted to do and ignored everything else. Highly recommend if you are able to do so. I know that not everyone is, because capitalism. But yes, so I pretty quickly blasted through the first 2 chapters, because they're all about different types of looms and how to dress them, and while I wouldn't say I'm, like, good at that yet, I at least know what I'm doing when it comes to taking a warp from skeins of yarn to on the loom. I know how to do that. I just need a lot more practice at it to be good at it. You're seeing a theme here, right? Practice makes you better at stuff. Wonderful. Couldn't have imagined that. So strange. But yes, so I hit chapter 3 in here, and that's when I realized this is a practical book. It has exercises. Many exercises. We start with, in chapter 3, we start with plane weaves. Loom-controlled plane weaves. So, chapter 4 is finger manipulated. Full disclosure, I'm probably going to skip that one because I'm just not interested in most of the things in that chapter. Like I said, I'm more interested in historical reenactment things, so I'm more interested in weaving for clothing for reenactment and possibly other things. But that's my main focus, is like yardage for clothes. So I spent a little bit of time today writing out the problems, as they're called in the book. Let's see if I can, there we go. So I like to make lists. If I have lists, I've got something to follow. And you can see what's going on, and you can check them off. And that just makes my little brain happy. So I got through chapter 3, just skipped chapter 4, started chapter 5, which is twills. Decided that was more than enough to start with. So there are 17 problems just in the plane weaving section. So obviously I have to clear my current project off my loom before I can start these, but the very first one is plain 50-50 weave. Do a sample at least 8 by 8 inches, that's 20 by 20 centimeters, paying special attention to the edges and beat, which honestly that's a thing I need to do. Like, till you've done it, you don't realize just how hard it is to keep your beat and your edges even. Like, I'm doing okay with that on my current project, and okay is the best I will give it. So the next thing for me to do while I'm weaving my current project off will be to go through these, because you're supposed to do them in order, and work out what I can wind warps for that will do more than one problems at a time. So just real quick, we'll go through the whole list of the short ones. We've got plain 50-50 weave, plain web with coloured weft stripes, pattern checks, tattersall checks, which are a variation, warp stripes of unequal width, plaid. I love plaid. I love plaid so much. I'm going to have fun with the plaid. We have tie and dye, which from a quick skim through that section, I believe one of the words that we use to describe that is ICAT. I think that's a specific regional thing that has the same result, so they've gone with tie and dye. Hey y'all, Editing Apprentice here. I did a little bit more research into tie and dye techniques, and it turns out that ICAT is the Indonesian word that English has since borrowed as a loan word to describe any tie and dye technique that's done on a warp or a weft, or both, before the fabric is woven. If it's done after the fabric is woven, then it's a tie-dye. But yeah, tie and dye, it turns out, has been used in many different countries and time periods, so that's why I was getting confused. So we've got the key to weaving here open at the relevant page. This is the diagram they give for, you know, how to wrap the warp before you dye it. And this is the pictured samples that they give. So they're not after masterpieces of art, but the part that I really like down here is, as we stated in the beginning, this weave is only for those with unlimited patience and a love for experimentation. I'm not that, so there's a fair chance that I may just give up in disgust when I get to this one, but we'll see. Then we move on to rag mats, which conveniently I have an entire wash basket full of old clothes that is just waiting to get turned into rag strips. Because we need more mats for the floor, they get quite cold in winter, and got the rags, why not? We also have log cabin, which is apparently a very traditional weave. I've never done it, I haven't done anything except a plain twill, honestly. Right, then we move on to warp face, plain, and warp face print, or it's spelt C-H-I-N-E. I don't know if that's pronounced chine or chine. Could be either. but that's like a wall hanging type thing. Editing apprentice again. I did a very quick web search for sheen. Turns out it's a French word, literally means China or Chinese, and it is a method of printing designs onto the warp threads rather than tying them off and dyeing them. So it's very similar to iCat, it's just done in a slightly different way. And it is apparently called sheen because the French were mad about it in the 1700s. Stripes, again, even and Roman. Nova Scotia Drugget. This is a book was written by an American woman, so that's probably why Nova Scotia is mentioned, and not a lot of other regional techniques. Then we move on to the weft face and weft texture, which, yeah, that'll be interesting. I've not done anything weft-faced, and they don't seem to be particularly common through history from what I can tell. I haven't seen many examples of them, but then again, my research has very much been dictated by my reenactment group's time period, which is 14th to 15th century Europe. So while that does span quite a broad range, I only speak and read English, so that does cut down what I've got access to history-wise. And also anything outside of Europe, like, it just hasn't come up, because that's not where I've been looking. So then we have two more. We have threads spaced in dents, which is basically don't slay things evenly, slay them unevenly, see what happens, and supplementary threads added to warp. So that is 17 different things. I'm pretty sure that will take me the entire year, even if I am able to double or even triple up on winding warps, just because that's a lot of stuff to experiment with. I have no idea what I'm going to do with all these samples. Probably throw them in a book and look at them and pat them occasionally and keep an eye on them. Like, I really believe in the importance of record keeping, but I fully acknowledge that I am occasionally terrible at it. It does take a lot of work for a lot of people, and I'm one of those people. Like, anything I can keep digitally, I will, but something like weaving samples, you can't just keep digitally. It's very handy to be able to go back and actually be able to physically touch the cloth, physically see what the color combinations are, like examine the drape, all that kind of stuff. It's very important to be able to do that. Shoe fly. It's fly o'clock. At least it's not mosquito o'clock. That's coming in about an hour. Not looking forward to it. I'll be inside by then. Anyway. Yeah, record keeping. Haven't decided how to do that yet. If you have any ideas, please let me know. Like, I've kept project notes for years. Years and years and years. I have some going all the way back to 2012. Not many, honestly. Like, I really picked up steam in the last 4 or 5 years when I finally found a system and tools that work for me, basically. Most of my stuff is kept electronically. I keep photos of it, and I keep it all in Obsidian. Not going to go into that too much right now, but I can do a video on it later, if I can be bothered, if anybody wants me to. I really like Obsidian. It's not perfect, but it gets my job done, and I can search it, so that's the main thing, is being able to search it. Oh my god, I love it. That's just a short overview of what my weaving plans will look like over the next year. It is a little bit complicated by the fact that wherever possible I try not to buy new if I can get second-hand first. So I'm going to be relying an awful lot on the Guild's thread store. And I'm pretty sure they'll be happy with that, because they're always overflowing with donated yarn. It does, however, mean that I am somewhat limited in sizes of thread, what it's made of. I flatly refuse to use synthetic fibers, so cotton, wool, maybe linen, but they don't get linen very often. It's almost all cotton and wool. So we'll see what happens, and I will keep you updated. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. This is YouTube. You know how to do the YouTube things. Bye for now.